Rotary Club of Mount Carmel welcomes you to this event to honor the Mount Carmel Area High School varsity football squad. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. We're now having an invocation by Reverend Michael Hutzko.
Thank you, Frank. Almighty and Heavenly Father, you have said, where two or three are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst of them. It is with deep faith in your word that we invite you to be among us now. Bestow upon each of us, but especially upon these players being honored, as well as the members of this Rotary organization, an abundance of your blessings. Unite us all in one mind and purpose. Give us strength, courage, and conviction to live out the ideals and virtues of our faith and our nation. Lead us all ever higher and to greater success in life. Finally, we ask you to bless the food and drink, the conversation, and the friendship which we will enjoy. Allow it to nourish our bodies as your word nourishes our soul. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Father Hutzko. I have to mention that Warren Altenberg passed away in 2018. He was a major player from the Lions Club for making sure we honored our athletes. I'd like to turn the program now over to Jose Gonzalo.
There we go. Yep. Thank you, Frank. The first thing I want to do is welcome everyone here to the 100th, you can see they have it up there, 100th Annual Rotary Football Banquet. And it's probably one of the few of its kind in the state of Pennsylvania and possibly throughout the country that the same organization honors one entity or one football team or one basketball team or whatever. So we're very proud of that. It wasn't so long ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, that we weren't sure this was going to happen. Rotary had 2 or 3 people left, that was it. It seems like community service and that sort of thing has sort of died off, and it's been really hard to have it. I sat down with, I had been the banquet chairman for like 12 or 13 years prior to that, and I talked to Pam, and I said, Pam, I'm going to commit myself to getting us to 100. I just said we're at 95. It's just something that we have to do for this community and for this organization and for this football team. So we've managed to do it, and I'm very proud of them. And Pam has hung in there and done things, and I think she's now up to 7 members. So if there's anybody else wants to get involved with community service, and I'd say that to myself as well, you know, to get involved with Rotary and continue with this wonderful outing here. And I think we're going to have a real nice banquet today. I am not going to take a lot of my time. I'm going to yield my time to the brothers, because I think that's what we came here to hear, as well as honor our football players. But before we go further, I have to introduce and thank some people in the audience. Number one will be our Superintendent, Bernie Steller. You don't understand what Bernie does. Bernie has never said no to anything I've ever needed to make this thing work as far as school cooperation and what have you. And so he's here. Glad to have him here. Greg Sakavage, our athletic director, has been nothing but supportive. And you see Greg at everything. I'm surprised he's not over there with his little iPad filming, but he's probably going to take the film from Dave over here. We have to thank Dave McPhee and his right-hand girl there, Doherty Fesniak, the libero of the Lord's volleyball team. But they do a great job, and they've done this, I'll bet, for close to 50 years now. The WKMC has been operating in Mount Carmel with the first live game. First game that we did, we have 2 members, Bobby Veach and Gary Dimmick, both who played in that game. That was the first televised game by WKMC back in 1968, I believe, Dave. So we thank you and for all that you do for this program and this school. Frank took some of my thunder and introduced the mother of Mount Carmel football, but Ann Louise, you certainly are the mother of Mount Carmel, and what you've given us to produce on the field, it goes not without notice, but it will never be reproduced, because I don't know anybody crazy enough to have 6 kids today either. So thank you for what you've done. I don't want to miss anybody, and I finally made notes. Pete's not here. Lisa's not here. Gish is not here. Dan Ficca? Dan, you're out here?
Dan's here.
Our one of only 2 living pro football players from Mount Carmel Area High School, and last year's speaker. It's always nice to have you here, Dan. I also want to see Tim Zyla sitting over in the corner. We're going to have legitimate coverage from the news item today. He was good enough to come to us last year, but he's here as well this year, so we're really glad to have you here, Tim. Thank you for coming. And one more guy that I usually introduce that isn't here, and that's my friend Warren. It's amazing how just one word like Cher or Madonna or whatever, when you say Warren, you know who we're talking about. Warren was the voice of Mount Carmel football for over 20 years, almost 30 as a matter of fact, and he's gone. And I didn't realize how much I was going to miss him personally, because we worked together not only with the Supper Club for 34 years together, and football games and helping with information and trying to make our kids be seen in a positive light, as well as the Hall of Fame. After he got inducted in 2006, he was one of our best committee members, because he was sort of the referee. Because the meetings get a little interesting and a little hot, but Warren was always level-headed and kept things going, so I had to mention him this time anyway, but we're going to miss him. But in case I missed anybody, I'm sorry. But once again, we're going to have a nice banquet. I'm going to yield most of my time, like I said, to other folks. We're first going to bring up John Dara, head coach. He's going to talk about his staff and his players. John has done a fantastic job, just completed his 4th year here. And he's gone to, had our first 10-win seasons in 2011, played in a district championship game for the 2nd consecutive year. And I think if you look at our kids, they're disciplined. They know what they're doing. They play hard. And it all reflects the head coach. And it's what he brings to the table. So I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm just going to get John up here. Ladies and gentlemen, John Dara.
Thank you, Jose. Before I get started with introducing a team, there's several people, a long list of thank yous I want to give here. So please bear with me, but I feel it's important that all these people are recognized. I'd like to start by thanking the Rotary. I mean, 100 years is something unique and special, and I think you'd be hard-pressed to go anywhere around the country and find a high school football team's banquet that's been going on that long. So thank you guys. I'd also like to take this time to remember Warren Altemeyer and all the dedication he brought to the table as far as our program as well. I'd like to thank WKMC TV and Mr. McPhee, the TV studio. This was their 50th year anniversary. Another thing that's unique about Mount Carmel is, there's been football games covered here not long after the television was invented. So that's something unique about our program, and those guys do a fantastic job. So thank you, Mr. McPhee and TV studio. I'd like to thank Miss Lyash, Cassandra Niglio, and her cheerleaders. I'd like to thank my family, my wife Rachel, my son Jack, for allowing me to commit so much time to what I do. My mom, my dad, some of my aunts and uncles, my Uncle Frank, Uncle Tom, Uncle Ed. This is really a family effort. My grandmother Sylvia, one of our biggest fans. It's not really well known, but a number of our players actually go up to visit her every Friday night. That's something really she lives for, so thank you guys for that. My godmother Anne-Marie and Bob Devine, who are big supporters at Supper Club every week. And finally, my sister Kelly and Aaron, who are leaders in our booster organization and just put a ton of time into the program and our booster organization in general. I'd like to thank our speakers and the Dimmick family, all you guys, thank you. I know you traveled a long way to get here. You're such an important part to the history of Mount Carmel and to our football program. And I'd just like to thank you guys for taking time out to join us today. Our coaches, so if you could please stand up when I call your name. Bob Veach, Rob Verano, Matt Mankiewicz, Bill Juraski, Mike Higgins, and Al Robbins. And I'd like to mention some other guys that are in attendance: Carl Stein, Jordan Marlowe, Marshall Merarkey, Brian Christiana, Eddie Stewart, and Mark Minnick. These guys put in a ton of time and sacrifice from their families and really do a great job for our program. So thank you guys for all your hard work. I'd also like to thank our equipment manager, Joe Hayjack, Eric Schlegel, and all our managers on the sideline, Jake Wojcik, our maintenance crew, the chain crew, Aaron, and our announcers, other personnel, everyone that works at the concession stand, Father Mike, and all our local parishes that provide mass on Fridays and things like that. So thank you guys. Some important supporters of the program: Mr. Ficca, Mr. Dixon, Doc Greco, Dave Clayman. Thank you guys for everything you do. Tom Swalby, Jeff Sluck, and Star Physical Therapy for our training. And thank you guys, in the absence of Warren, Jose, our statistician, who does a phenomenal job with everything, but now is just doing so much more than he's ever done with the Supper Club. And thank you to Jose, to Winks Carter for helping out, stepping up, to Matucci's, to our biggest fan there, Ed Straub, and to Mr. Sikavich for all kind of filling Warren's shoes for that this year. And last but not least, I'd like to thank our school board for all your support, Mr. Steller and our band, and then the administrators, Lisa Vrano, Pete Cheddar, Susie Nestico, our athletic directors, Greg Sikavich, Mike Climbera, and all of our parents and families. So thank you, everybody. Before we introduce our team, I'm going to introduce the cheerleaders first. So when I call your name, if you could please stand up. Josie Adams, Anna Gownley, Carissa Kaler, Sydney Marquardt, Eliza Nevis, Allison Sherrock, Cheyenne Whitmer, Hannah Baza, Danielle Hooper, Haley Kimzel, Talia Mazzatesta, Reagan Scandal, Gabby Taylor, and Gia Yankowski. Thank you guys for all your dedication and work to the program. I'd also like to take a minute to recognize Mrs. Lyash. Mrs. Lyash has served as our cheerleading moderator for 25 years, and this year was her last season. So 25 years is a long time and a lot of service. So I'd like to thank her. Our booster organization, my sister, provided a gift for Miss Lyash. So if one of you guys could come up here and grab that, Allison. Sorry about the microphone there. And I'd also like to take a second and thanks and welcome aboard. We kind of had a changing of the guard this year with our television. So Jim and Dan Lesko, who were announcers this year, and Joe Verano, who also helped out filling in as well. Now to introduce our players. We'll start with the seniors. Please stand up when I call your name. Billy Anderson, John Ayers, Chris Eamon, Michael Hood, Jacob Reese, Zachary Artman, Avery Demko, Noah Fry, Tanner Karicki, Jared Stewart. Now for our juniors, Joey Bendis, Jack Chapman, Mike McCuskey, Tom Reisinger, Nick Troutman, Logan Wills, Noah Burkowski, Colin Herb, Dylan Pupa, Brad Sherrock, and Shane Weidman. Sophomores, Damon Daukus, Chase Fishburne, Connor Krakowski, Tyler Owens, Reed Wachowski, Aaron Elliott, Austin Garankowski, Austin Odorizzi, and Michael Reed. And finally, freshmen, Bradley Belts, Julian Steller, and Thomas Davitt. Thank you. I'd like to, at this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Jose, and I just want to take an extra second to thank Jose, obviously our team statistician, but now wearing several different hats for our program and just doing a tremendous amount of work to accomplish all these great things. So thank you, Jose.
Thank you, John. You know, I don't use notes, and I'm getting too old for this. I have to start using notes. I forgot somebody, and that was Aaron and Kelly Domansky, who are totally responsible for the printing of my programs. I'm responsible for content, they're responsible for printing, and I think they did a beautiful job. But I have to tell you one little thing. I sent it to him in PDF, and they just print it, but he likes to read over and check things out. And then he sends back, he said, Jose, you skipped a space between Gia and Jankowski, so I have to come back, I have to fix it, I have to resave it, because I do it in Publisher, put it back in PDF, and then send it back to him again. So I'm thinking I did all right, you know, and then he had another one. So I'm at a basketball game there, and I see Reed Wachowski there. And he says, you know, you did a pretty good job this year for an old guy. I said, well, what are you talking about? He says, well, I edit the things for Aaron. Here all along, I thought Aaron was doing this great job editing, and I said to him, I said, you know, you're doing a great job, Aaron. We have a great team here, you know. All of a sudden, Reed's doing the editing, and he says, but I fixed 4 or 5. I said, no, he only sent me 1 or 2 corrections. He said, no, I can fix it in there. I said, how do you fix in PDF? You can't. He said, you just hit edit up on the top. Well, I went home and I tried it. There's no way to fix anything in PDF. Then he tried to explain it to me the other night, so we're going to have to sit down. But the real secret behind Aaron is Reed. Anyway, so you guys know that. It is my pleasure right now to introduce our speakers for tonight. You know, if you look back, every once in a while, I print all of our speakers. And if you look back, you see the 4 horsemen of Notre Dame, and you see Joe Paterno and Jackie Sherrill and Johnny Majors and all of these guys. And then it trickled down and we couldn't afford them anymore. Managers came into play, agents came into play, and it would cost $20,000, $25,000 to have speakers like that. So we couldn't do it. So then we got these, I want to say, rubber chicken Division III coaches who'd come, get a $300 check, say what they said. Nobody cared. Nobody listened. It didn't mean anything. They didn't relate. So about 10 years ago, I decided that we have to start bringing some of our greats. They're more important than some Division III coach. And you know what? It's worked out really well with the people we've had in the past. But tonight we sort of hit a utopia here, and all fitting and just because it is the 100th annual banquet. There's no name that it's been more synonymous with Dimmick, with Mount Carmel football than Dimmick. And you can read it in one of their pamphlets. Take it home and read about some of their accomplishments. I won't go through them here because I want to give them their time. But it was truly a magical period of time where they won 151 games and lost 32. Think about that, lost 32 in 16 years of playing for the Red Tornadoes. You know, that in and of itself, even more so than the wins, is something that I look at. But even more importantly, as to what they did on the field, it's who they've become today. They are all solid citizens, solid people, and great to their mother. They were great to their father. And even though they're spread out, they always found time to come home, and it tells you what kind of character they had and what kind of people they really are. So it's really an exciting time for me today to be able to introduce them, and they're all going to speak to you somehow. I told them to do whatever they want. It's the 100th banquet. Do whatever you want. So they're going to do, each four of them, they're going to do it in order according to age. Now, I didn't want to say that. Now, Gary, well, I'm sorry, Gary, but you're the oldest. So first we're going to start with Gary. And Gary, if you look in the book, was the first one. And Gary went to Notre Dame, in case you guys didn't notice. Started for 2 years at Notre Dame and played on the 1973 National Championship team. Now, you think about that. We've had nobody even get close to a national championship. He played on it and won it and has a ring someplace, I guess, if he has it on. He'll show it to you afterwards. But anyway, I'm not going to waste any more time. I'm just going to turn this over to the Dimmick brothers, and I just want to thank them once again for making the effort, coming from Vermont, from Florida, from Harrisburg, Lititz, Lebanon, all over the place. And I know it's made their mom real happy, makes me real happy, it makes the community real happy, but let's listen to them. First up, Gary Dimmick.
Thank you, Jose. Father, Frank, Jose, Coach, members of the Red Tornado football team, cheerleaders, family and friends, and coaching staff. It's quite an honor to be here. It's the 100th year of the Rotary Banquet. This is something very unique and very special. I can tell you I've been invited to other football banquets, and it's a potluck dinner in the school cafeteria, and it's parents and girlfriends and a team. So this is something very, very special. It's been going on for 100 years. So appreciate it, enjoy it. The Rotary does not have to do this. They don't owe this to you. They're doing it because of the dedication and the work effort that you guys put forward and to recognize, what you've done. So enjoy it. It's a very unique situation. Many years ago, obviously 100 years ago, this started, and there were great athletes from every level of competition that have spoken, college coaches, as Jose mentioned, and NFL coaches. So when we were invited to come, it was, why don't you come to the 100th anniversary, haven't been back. We thought, oh, that'd be great, that'd be nice to see. And immediately I thought, who's going to be the speaker? Didn't know who it would be, had no idea. We get into town yesterday, and we look in the paper, and it says, Dimmick Brothers to speak. Well, Jose, I think, has been writing down too many football plays, and he threw a misdirection at us. So here we are. I'd like to apologize for my two brothers, Ed and Mike. Business and family affairs kept them away. They both wanted to come. They're both part of the family, both are part of the Red Tornadoes, so I apologize that they couldn't be here. We're going to speak tonight. We're not going to speak tonight about the accomplishments that we individually have done. Jose does a great job as a statistician. They're written down, they're in the pamphlet. That's not what we're going to talk about. This is not about us. It's about this team and what you guys have done, and to show your appreciation, show our appreciation to you. We have all been known for our speed, so I hope that applies tonight, and we won't keep you here too long. So again, with accomplishments and records and team records and personal records, people think of all the good things you've done and everything that's gone great for your career. I want to tell a little story about how my career at Mount Carmel started. I was a freshman and had the opportunity to practice with the varsity. We had double sessions. We started on a Wednesday. On Thursday, there was a dance at Knoebels. And for people in my era, you can remember there were dances twice a week at Knoebels, great place to meet kids from all over the area. So it was one of the last dances of the season. A couple of the seniors asked me to go along. I was thrilled. Here I was, a freshman, first day, second day of practice. A couple of the seniors asked me to go to Knoebels with them. It was great. I couldn't be more happy. Come to find out, I think they were thinking, hey, if we take the coach's kid, we can't get in trouble. So as many people know, my dad was a stickler for a curfew. He would cruise town in his red and white Hudson jet, looking for guys. If he couldn't find them, he'd call their house, make their parents put him on the phone. He was always checking up on you. You can imagine now what happened. I get home not 5 minutes late after curfew. The coach is sitting in his living room, and I walk in with an armed list of things of why I'm late, who I was with, what I couldn't do, why I couldn't get home. I walked in, he said, I don't want to hear a word. You'll run. There I am, third day of practice, tells the team, I broke curfew, I'm going to run. Okay, take my medicine. The senior that I was with, who drove the car, he came up to my father to show you how fair my father was. Came up to my father and said, Coach, it's my fault Gary was late. I got him home late. My dad looked at him and said, I appreciate your honesty. He broke curfew. That means you did too. Join him. So I was here 50 years ago, sitting where you are, as a player. I played probably before some of your parents were even born. So a lot has changed over the years since I played. Coaches have obviously changed. Many, many players have gone through the program. Conferences that you're in, opponents that we play, style of play has changed drastically. Because of all the success that the program has had, there's a lot of friendly banter, discussion about what team was better, which team was stronger on defense, which team ran the ball better, which player was better. Discussions that even I had with my brothers about, jokingly and in fun, about who was better and who wasn't. One thing I can say, and I'm going to pick on Joe, I played in a national championship game and won. We beat Alabama. Joe played in a national championship game, and Alabama beat them. So I've got one up on Brother Joe. So you guys will always be a red tornado. Nobody will ever take that away from you. Nobody will ever take away the accomplishments that you've done, whether it's one touchdown, one pass, one tackle, or even getting in just one play. You're all contributing to the program. So I'd like to thank the team for contributing to the legacy. You are now part of it. Seniors, I'd like to wish you guys good luck in the future, especially if you're moving on and get a chance to play at the next level. There's nothing like it. Returning players, continue to be proud of being a Red Tornado. The numbers on the press box hint at the history of the program. Always strive to do your best and keep those numbers changing. Good luck to Coach Dara, coaching staff, and to the Red Tornadoes of next year and beyond. And as I said before, we are Red Tornadoes. Thank you very much. I hope I kept it quick enough. Thank you. Number two, Kenny.
Thanks, Gary. So before I get into my official remarks, Jose said he was responsible for the content. I believe this picture was taken one of my dad's birthdays.
What, 80th?
And we may be fast, we can catch. we were never accused of being stylish. Could we have had any baggier pants than that? So I think a general theme is the legacy, the tradition that we have in Mount Carmel. 45 years ago, 1974, I'm a senior sitting where you guys are. I had no appreciation of tradition, of the legacy that I was actually part of. And it took somewhere through the next 45 years to realize that. 100 years is absolutely amazing, and they say the first 100 years is the hardest. Let's continue to the next 100. So first and most importantly, I would like to thank and recognize our mother. She was and still is our head coach. Any of our successes, we can certainly attribute to her, and we would not be the persons we are without her loving guidance. And that continues every single day. Thanks, Mother. So our dad taught us many lessons. One lesson he never taught us was that about public speaking. So I'll try to keep it short. So 3 areas that were important in what my father imparted onto us were faith, education, and work ethic. Let me start with faith. I think it's fairly well chronicled how he would take his teams every single day that he was a head coach, every single game, to Mass. But it's probably not well known that before every game, he would go to church. We'd have dinner, 5 o'clock, jump in the car to head down to the field house, and he'd pull into St. Pete's. And he'd go in, and when I was playing, we would join him. And he was in intense prayer for 2 to 3 minutes. He'd finish, we'd get up, drive to the stadium. So second or third game, I finally said to my dad, I said, what do you pray for? He said, I'll tell you what I don't pray for. He said, I don't pray that we win. He said, I first pray that there's no serious injury on either team. And he said, I pray that I coach to the best of my ability to give our team the best chance to win. It was very important, and that has stuck with me the rest of my life. Second topic, education. He always taught us that football was a means to an end. It wasn't the end all. One of my dad's biggest accomplishments, if he were here, he would tell you the players that he was able to get to college and make something of themselves the rest of their lives. And I learned that lesson quite early. I was in 4th grade, playing for the Tigers in Shamokin. Gary was in 8th grade. The 4th graders played at halftime. We just had a scrimmage with the other team. About 2 months into the season, I'm at St. Ed's, and our report card comes out. I don't remember the grades, but I remember the next day I handed my uniform in. I learned real early, school was first, sports was second, and social life was third. And I think if you keep that list in order, you guys will do well as well. Work ethic. So last topic, I'll tell you guys, and I would tell this to my children. You may never be the fastest, you're not going to be the strongest, the smartest, but nobody should ever outwork you. If somebody outworks you, then you have no excuses that you're going to get beat. A quick story when I was a freshman. Freshman track season. Gary just got home from Notre Dame finishing his freshman year. I walked in the door from track practice, and it was a little on the early side. Gary said to me, he goes, what are you doing home? And I said, it's raining outside. I said, didn't feel like running. 10 minutes later, I was on that track. So I learned pretty quick not to make excuses. Don't give up on a workout. If you give it your best, you can have no regrets. And learn from your failures. Everybody's going to have failures. It's a shame if you don't learn from them. I was fortunate. I was on 2 championship teams. We were 24-0. It's easy to focus on that. The year before 24-0, we were 6-5. 5 years before the 6-5 team, Mount Carmel was 54-4. We failed. 5 losses in 1 year. Terrible, but we learned from it. And again, if you learn from your failures, that's the best thing you can learn. So at this point, I want to turn over to our next speaker. And I have 5 fantastic brothers. Joe, it was an honor for me to play with him, play 3 seasons with him. He won't tell you this, being humble was something else that was imparted by our dad, but Joe was 35-1 as a starting quarterback. And if anybody wants to talk about the 1, there's an asterisk behind it, we can discuss it. So it's my honor to turn over the mic to my brother Joe.
Thank you, Kenny. If you want a short speech, then here it comes. Now, I just want to thank the Rotary Club, the 2018 Tornadoes, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being here, and thanks for the honor for me to speak. Back in the day, I had the privilege to play on the winningest football team in the state of Pennsylvania, 45 years ago. And over 45 years with your new coach and your teams and past teams, you continue that tradition of the winningest team in the state of Pennsylvania. That said, personally, I played for 2 of the best coaches in the history of football, my late father, Joe Jazz Dimmick, and Joe Paterno. And here's the punchline. If you guys work hard and aim high, you can play for 3 good coaches: Coach Dara, James Franklin, and Bill Belichick. Thank you very much. And here's Johnny.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. Thank you to the Rotary. Great event. Congratulations to the 2018 team on another great year. I guess I shouldn't have been writing my speech out loud earlier because I can't talk about Notre Dame. Didn't go there. The work ethic with the championships for Kenny, that was touched on. Joe didn't go to Penn State, so I can't do that. Then I thought I could talk about Lafayette and how we beat Lehigh, and then I look over and Coach Verano's here, and he can call me out on that. So I guess that's all I have. But no, again, congratulations, and my brothers mentioned it. Excuse me. You guys are Big Red. The pride that you have with this program, you don't understand how far it goes. I've been a football official for 30 years, and the head of my crew is a football player from North Schuylkill. And when we talk to the coaches before the game, it always comes up, "Oh, where are you from?" "I'm from North Schuylkill." Dead silence. "Oh, where are you from?" "Mount Carmel." "Oh, Mount Carmel football." That's all you hear. So you guys are part of a brotherhood. Be proud of it. It'll go with you the rest of your life. So again, congratulations, and maybe I should have talked to Woody. Woody, you said you had a speech for me since the brothers took it, so. But no, thanks again, and congratulations, and best of luck in the future, guys. Thank you.
I should have been better prepared here.
You're doing fine.
I'm not going to bring them all up, but I just want to present one of these to all of the Dimmicks. We've got one for all of them. We just want to say thank you for coming home to us and for speaking to us. I'm sure it meant a lot to the guys today. I'm sure the things that you said are all particularly important to what they do and what they should do. You've all lived it. You've all come out of it on top. And we just want to present these to you as a token of our gratitude for coming home today. This one's Joe's, but I'll hand it over. Pick them up after the banquet. But again, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jose.
And one of the interesting things that struck me was that Kenny talked about failure. What failure? Gary lost 3 games in his whole 4-year career. Kenny lost 5. I mean, they don't know failure. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just that, but that's part of their makeup. It's part of what made them what they are and what they shot for. And it's just like Jeff Greco. I don't know if he should be over here somewhere. Jeff kept a scrapbook of his high school career, and all he kept were the interceptions and fumbles because he wanted to be reminded of his failures. And maybe it's something that we have to learn from. You know, the glory sometimes comes against not so great competition or whatever, this, that, the other thing. But the failures, you know, they're from somebody better than you. And you should strive to overcome that. And I think these guys have all lived it and all understand it. So anyway, thank you once again for coming, guys. I'm sure we all appreciate it. I enjoyed your words, enjoyed what you had to say, and hope you're having a good time here back in Mount Carmel. Right now, we're going to start the awards portion of the banquet. I'm going to turn it back over to Coach John. John, do you want your guys to come up here, or is that how you're going to do it?
Okay, we're going to start the awards right now, so when you're called for award, please come up and accept, and then you can say a few words. Hopefully this microphone cooperates here. Mr. Scavage, you want to come up here quick? I'll come back over. Chosen separately, we'd just like to recognize our Mike Terry Award winners this year, which are chosen by the Lions Club for their game against Shamokin. Our outstanding back this year was Shane Widener. And our outstanding lineman this year was Michael Hood. Next, we're going to move on to the Len Eshmar Award.
Thank you, John. I have the honor today to present the Len Eshmont Award. And before I present it, just a little bit about Len Eshmont. Len Eshmont was born and raised in Atlas, and he played football at Mount Carmel Township. Had a great career. He went on to Fordham, was an All-American there, and was inducted into their Hall of Fame. From there, he played for the New York Giants, he enlisted in the Navy, and came back and played with the 49ers. Now, Mr. Eshmont's name is memorialized by the San Francisco 49ers with the Eshmont Award up until this day. This award is given to the Niner who best exemplifies the inspirational and courageous play of Len Eshmont. So every year at this banquet, we have our own Len Eshmont Award. And we award it, again, to the Red Tornado, who exemplifies inspirational and courageous play. So I'm going to go through some of the highlights here, and I'm sure when I go through some of this, you're going to know who I'm talking about. Jose, if I make any mistakes, let me know. But this young man was a 4-year starter on offense and defense. He rushed for over 1,300 yards this year, despite nursing an injury for the last couple games of the year. He had a career rushing total of over 4,100 yards. That was good for 4th on the all-time list. He also carried the ball in his career over 700 times. That was good for 3rd. He also accumulated over 6,000 yards of total offense. That included rushing and passing. Remember, he was a quarterback for the first 2 years. That was good for 4th all time. He scored over 340 points in his career. That was 5th all time. And that was only half of the story. He also played defense. This year he had 76 tackles. He had over 275 tackles in his career, and he punted the ball 86 times for over 2,600 yards. The last player to rush that was rushed in the top 10 and played middle linebacker was Joey Sinkovich, and that was almost 25 years ago. So it's not by chance that a young man can play tailback and play linebacker and have the success that he had. And the reason for that was that he played hard, he played urban, he played positive, never had a negative word to say. He was a coach on the field. Great young man and a pleasure to be around. Hopefully his toughness will provide motivation for some of our younger players in the future. So this year's Len Eschman Award winner, John Ayers.
To start off, I'd like to thank the Rotary Club and the Brady Fire Company for having us. Next, I'd like to really thank the Dimmick family for coming. I mean, whenever you talk about Mount Carmel football or with anybody, one of the top names that comes up is the Dimmicks. The impact they've made on the program and the tradition they've left here for us is something that we try to carry on and push forward with the program. To my teammates, I mean, guys, I love yous. I love playing for Mount Carmel. I wouldn't want to play anywhere else. It was a great 4 years. I wish I could play again. And I mean, other than that, I have no regrets. I want to thank my family, all my coaches, Star and Dr. Greco for all the injuries that they've helped me with over the years. I want to thank everybody who supported us and made it the big impact on my life. I love playing here. I love the crowd, the cheerleaders and the band, everyone who supported us. I mean, thank you, and I couldn't say enough. And I also want to thank the Len Eschman family for this award, the Atlas American Legion who gives this award too. So thank you, and I wish my brothers the best of luck next year, and go Big Red.
Okay, I have the Two Chief Award for Unsung Heroes, which are the guys who don't get recognized. Offensive linemen who have to block so the running backs can gain all the yardage, unselfishly I might add. And defensive linemen who have to take on double teams all the time, take on blocks so that the linebackers can be the top 3 tacklers on the team. Sometimes people see you, sometimes they don't, most of the time not. The offensive lineman this year, most outstanding, unsung hero, is Colin, call me Chili Herb.
I'm a little bit unprepared. I didn't expect that. So, and it's hard to follow a speech up like John says. I mean, John's pretty much perfect. So, I'd like to thank the Rotary and the Brady Fire Company and the Dimmicks for coming out. It really does mean a lot to me, and I'm sure the rest of the guys too. Your name is mentioned all the time in the locker room. One of the all-time great names of Mount Carmel. I thank my parents and the cheerleaders and the band and WKMC TV, the studio, the announcers, everyone that makes the experience so special playing on Friday nights, and of course the coaches and Star, #1 trainer in the country, Jeff Schluck. Yeah, thank you.
Our line coach, Carl Stein, couldn't be here today, so I got the pleasure of doing this. Defensively, we have a guy who, unsung hero, didn't get all the recognition, was second on the team in sacks, third or fourth in tackles, took on the tight ends every game, was the inconsequential defensive end of the bookends. Our unsung hero on the defensive side is Logan Wells.
I would like to start off by thanking the Brady Fire Company and the Rotary for having this great banquet. 100 years, that's something to really be proud of, something, like they said, not many other schools, maybe not any school in the country has. I'd like to thank the Dimmicks for coming out. Like they said, they had to travel to get here. It's great to have them. What they talked about could really help. Means a lot to the team. I'd like to thank my coaches, Star, the band, everyone, the fans, everyone who comes out to see us every Friday, supports us throughout the week. It makes Mount Carmel special. There's no other football program like this in the state or the country. And finally, I'd like to thank my parents for all the support they've given me throughout my football career, my entire life. And that's all. Thank you.
I feel like I'm on a relay race here. There's just keep handing off batons. I have the pleasure of presenting the Ed Romance Award today. And a lot of you probably, I know some of you do, and we know Ed Romance because we think of the Ed Romance Hall of Fame here in the local area. But a lot of us really don't know who Ed Romance was. Ed Romance was a gentleman who I considered a mentor and a friend, and somebody that helped not only me, but many young men coming through high school when he was here with his family. Back in the mid-'60s, with the demise of the local newspaper and the Shamokin and Mount Carmel newspapers merging, our newspaper moved to Shamokin, and it became what is now the Shamokin News Item. And we did not, for the first time in the history of the Mount Carmel area, we didn't have a media outlet. I know we had the new newspaper, and that was good, but it wasn't just at that time, not like it is today, but at that time, we lost something. It was like we lost an arm or a leg. We lost our local newspaper. And along came Ed Romance about a year or so later, and he decided that we needed a radio station in Mount Carmel. He came from Pottsville, and he got a license through the FCC and did the unthinkable task of putting a radio station in a small northeastern coal region town. How the heck was that ever going to make it? Well, not only did it make it, it prospered for many of the years till it shut down in the late 80s, early 90s after Ed had passed away. But Ed was the kind of guy that brought community into the radio station. He was our local media outlet. every Saturday morning, and these gentlemen here on the dais will tell you, you could turn on the radio Saturday morning and listen to the rebroadcast of the football game, because he would, at that time, the radio would shut off at 5 o'clock. We didn't get radio after 5 o'clock, so you would listen the next morning on Saturday morning, you'd listen to rebroadcasting of the Mount Carmel football games by Ed Romance and Mr. Cheddar. I'm thinking Pete's dad's name. I can't think. Joe Cheddar, right? They would do the games every week, and Ed Romance would come and interview football players, baseball players, basketball players. He put our school district on a marquee, and he broadcast that out, and it was something great. And Ed was just that kind of guy, and he would do anything for Mount Carmel area. So it's great to know that the Hall of Fame was eventually named after him, and we continue with an award at the football banquet here. And today at the football banquet, we'll continue. I hate to do this to you guys, but we'll continue with the lineman theme here, because Mr. Juraski was up here before, and our Ed Romance Most Improved Player for the football team, again, we're going to bring up a lineman, because guys did wonderful things, all of you. But without those linemen in front of you, I never hear. That's the problem. We open up our book and look at our stats, and we see tackles and how many runs and where they. Got to remember those guys that open the holes, because if there's no holes, these guys aren't going anywhere. So heads off to our linemen, and without them, we would be short-pressed. And I'm proud to award this year's Most Improved Player to a young man who I've watched grow and develop throughout my tenure at Mount Carmel. And there's one thing my dad used to say to me, as he was a colleague of Coach Jazz for years. You know, he used to have his own little sayings, and he said to me, you know, where you are is not as important as which direction you are moving. And I watched this young man with this adage, and I watched him grow, I watched him get better, and I look forward to see him even better next year. So I am proud at this time to give the Most Improved Player for 2018, the Ed Romance Award, to Brad Shurek.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out today. It's been great being here for the 100th year. Congratulations to the Rotary for putting it on that long. It's truly an accomplishment. It's been a pleasure for me and my teammates to come. And thank the coaches for their countless hours they put in for us. There's nobody like them. They do so much for us. And I'd like to thank my parents for allowing me to play football, pushing me to get better, and helping me in life. And the Dimmicks for being here. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Good evening. It's my privilege to award this Bobby Pizzoli Award to Mike Mikowski. He's a player that best exemplifies inspiration, courage, and unselfish play. And like Bobby Pizzoli, someone who I don't really know. You know, I'm not from Mount Carmel. Mount Carmel has huge history here. So much I learn every year. I hear new names every year, and it's like, and they're passed around like it's, you know, folk tales almost. You know, it's just some things it's hard to believe how accomplished this program really is. You know, you talk about the state's winningest program. So, I mean, you hear all these names, but you don't hear, you know, like Mr. Sakavage was leading in. I thought he was going to give my award out when he said about, you know, unsung heroes, people you don't hear about, and you don't read their names in the papers. They're not scoring the touchdowns, but they're coming every day. They're making the sacrifices. They're working very hard. You know, they're giving everything they have, and they don't really get recognition sometimes. And Mike Mikowski, he best exemplifies inspiration. So I'm proud and honored to award this to Mike. So.
I'd like to begin by thanking the Rotary for having us. Thank you to our coaches for guiding us and helping us with everything. And finally, my parents for raising me in the best town in America. Thank you.
From the Heights.
I am giving out the Supper Club Award winner, and this goes to an outstanding defensive performer throughout the year. So beginning this off, first seeing this guy come into spring ball and camp, and I'm like, whoa, who is this guy? He changed his whole body from the year previously. I don't know if it was because he didn't get the recognition that he wanted the previous year, or he just figured out that it was his last year to finally shine in the Mount Carmel history, and he surely did that. With this person, you always see him disrupting the plays in the backfield, and throughout the game, even if he said, oh, I was getting triple covered on the play, he was still in the backfield. With his performance, he always worked hard at practice, and he was always going against our first-string offense, so he worked every move that you saw during Friday night. And with this, he has a lot of accomplishments with 32 tackles for a loss, 17 sacks, which were his second all-time in Mount Carmel history, 16 hurries in a year, but also 33 in his career, which are new records at Mount Carmel. And he was awarded many awards, like first team all-area, all-state as well for the conference, Mr. PA Football Top 10 lineman, first team DN on the WNEP, which will be on tonight, the 16 Dream Team, and Defensive Player of the Year as well for the Press Enterprise. So Michael Hood, come on up for this award.
First off, I'd like to thank my parents, always pushing me to be the best player I could be. Second, I'd like to thank God. I'd like to thank the Dimmicks for being here. It's a great treat for us to have the legacy of them to be here. I'd like to thank my coaches, especially Coach Juraski and Coach Mank for putting up with my shenanigans. I'd like to thank Star, especially Jeff, helping me out with any tweaks or injuries. I'd like to thank all the fans, and it was a real memorable senior year for me. Thank you.
Stay here. We're going to ask Michael to stay here just for a second, for the sake of saving some time, because he'll be getting called up here again. So on behalf of the Mount Carmel Area Rotary Club, we'd like to recognize you for your outstanding efforts and selection to the 2018 Pennsylvania Sports Writers AA All-State Football Team, First Team Defensive Lineman, and the 2018 Pennsylvania Football Coaches Select AA First Team All-State Football Team Defensive Lineman, and the WNEP 16 Dream Team Defensive Lineman, which, like Mank said, will be on tonight. But what Michael didn't tell you, he had a personal protector, and that was Father Mike at the games, who would constantly be on my back to make sure that I didn't miss the sack that he had or didn't have. And sometimes Mike would have to mediate on that, but all kidding aside, Michael, you did an outstanding job, and congratulations to you.
Again, I'm very honored to receive this award. Again, I'd like to thank my coaches and my teammates especially. They're great. The front four, taking up blocks, Chili, Billy, taking double teams for me and Logan to get, one-on-ones. And then we tell Coach Mank we're getting double teamed if we're not there. But it was a total team effort this year. And again, I won't want to go out with any other guys. Thank you.
Next is the Dr. Joseph Greco Award. That goes to the player who studied the most and who played football the hardest. And it's, my dad was a little All-American at Susquehanna, and the Dimmicks all know him. I'm sure he gave them slaps on the hiney when they were born. And I remember, Coach, your dad bringing one of you guys who were choking to death, like 3 o'clock at night. And who was that?
Michael.
That was Michael. And I remember opening the door and Jazz holding Michael and my dad coming and starting to slap him on the back. The Joseph Greco Award is given to the senior with the highest grade point average. And this guy has, you've seen him before up here, and he's just an awesome team leader. He's been a captain, a 4-year starter, and he was like the old crew. You know, these kids want to be like the old guys. And this guy, along with the seniors, have brought the old rock'em sock'em smash face football back to Mount Carmel. And the young kids looked up to him. And he was a total captain, and whatever he does in the future, he's going to be awesome. I mean, he tackled the book so hard, he's number 1 in his class. Johnny Ayers. And Coach Veach reminded us that he is the 4th all-time points. And the only 3 before him are the two Veaches and Gary.
Again, I'm very honored to receive this award. I do want to thank Doc Greco for the award and just everything he's done for us. A lot of you don't know this, but Doc does a lot of good things for us behind the scenes. He's involved in many things for us, helps us with things, and also helps us get better. For example, this year, me, Logan, and Trout were at his office the one day, and he told us he had an idea. So he took us up to the estates, and he showed us a tree log, and we're like, what are we going to do with that? Well, he put leather handles on it and had us walk the hill with it. So,
New tradition.
Yeah, new tradition. Another couple people that I forgot to thank the first time, but really would like to thank are Mr. McPhee. He's another one who does a lot of things for us. It's very awesome, you know, after the game on Friday, the next Wednesday to be able to watch the game with your buddies and eat some food on TV. 2 of the biggest fans, you know, Ed Straub and Mr. Darius Graham, Cynthia. I mean, it's great going up there Friday nights before the game to see her and seeing Ed. You know, it really brightens our day, and we appreciate the support you guys give us. And the last but not least, a guy who's not here, but many of you know that I'd like to thank, who has helped me since I was young, is Tony Schick. He was always a big guy in the weight room and pushed us, especially the seniors when we were in 7th grade, to get better, to live in that weight room, and that's where, you know, the season is made in the weight room. So thank you again, and go Big Red.
Okay, this is the Tony Mazzello Award, Outstanding Special Teams Player. I've had the privilege of doing this the last couple of years, being the kicking coach, so I got to give this out. And the last couple of years, it was a kicker who got it. This year we had a freshman kicker who came on and actually was school record for the most extra points as a freshman. As a freshman, didn't kick off that well. We ended up having to go to a guy who had kicked when he was, 8 years old? Chappie? 8, 10? And he kicked for a while, and all in all, we did pretty well on that. We had kids come off injuries that ran down on kickoffs and made plays, and did that with consistency. Chappie got a kick out of running down the middle of the field on kickoffs because nobody blocks the kicker. Coach Darris said it helped with his tackles, got him up into the top 4. This year, though, it's different. We have a guy who, like, burst onto the scene. He was okay last year. He did well. This year, he was a threat. The statistics that you'll see in the pamphlet says he had a pretty good year, but he actually had some outstanding runs called back for whatever reason. We still haven't figured some of those calls out. Maybe we can get referee Dimmick to help us out with it. But he moved high on the list for return yardage. He's also, as a running back this year, ran for over 900 yards and was only a handful away from hitting 1,000, following Johnny, who also had 1,000 this year. And he's moved up on the all-purpose yardage list. He's getting into the top 10. So he's going to be somebody to watch next year because he's only a junior. So hopefully he can come out next year and do what he did this year as the premier back. And this year's special team player is Shane called me Randy Widener.
They threatened to cut it on me. Thank you. Is this on?
Yep.
All right. I'd like to start by thanking the Dimmick family for coming out here. My teammates for always being here, pushing me, always here when I need something. My coaches, countless hours with us. It's awesome. My family, just loved growing up. Love being here in Mount Carmel. Thank you.
Next, we also have another special treat for you. The Joe Gray Award was started, Joe Gray died in a swimming accident way back when in the 70s, and his teammate, Dirk Berezowski, normally takes care of the award and has been doing it for years, but this year we're fortunate enough to have him with us. Dirk played with Kenny and Joe on the 1972 championship team, and what I remember most is Jazz calling him the Monster Man. That's when Jazz got this new defense from Villanova called Monster Chuckles. And you needed a strong safety who was as tough as a linebacker, but as fast as a cornerback. And he found him in Dirk. And Dirk was then the model for that position through the rest of Jazz's coaching career. Had an outstanding career here, went on to play at Penn for a couple of years, was inducted into the local Hall of Fame in 2006. So we're really very fortunate today to have Dirk here to present the Joe Gray Award. Dirk Berezowski.
Thanks for the kind words there. And I'd like to thank Jose and my brother David over many years getting this award here. I live outside the area down in Philadelphia, so not always able to get up here. And congratulations to the team, the coaches, cheerleaders, everybody involved with this program. You make an old tornado very proud. Joe Gray Award was established 1977. This is the 41st year we have given out the award. Joe, as we call him, died a drowning accident June 16, 1977. At his funeral, the senior members of the team wanted to do something to honor Joe each year, so we came up with an award for the outstanding lineman that exemplified the abilities and the characteristics of Joe. Joe was an outstanding offensive guard for our team. He also played he was offensive tackle, excuse me. He was also a great defensive player, primarily as a linebacker, but he also played some defensive tackle. His senior year honors included being selected to the Big 33, AP, UP, honorable mention, anthracite, lower anthracite first team, all Susquehanna offensive team. He was drafted by Lou Holtz, who at the time was the head coach of North Carolina State. Joe was tough, he was strong, he was intelligent, he was a team player. He also was a bit eccentric and had a crazy grin. I remember times on the team bus coming back from games, particularly if we won, singing things such as The Eve of Destruction. I recall a time at practice, we were running a drill. Joe completed the drill, went literally skipping off. The late George Rona, great coach, turned to the rest of us that were waiting in line and he says, everybody goes crazy in their own way. So Joe was a fun guy to be around and a personal good friend of mine as well. This year's winner is no stranger to the award, and as I look at this person and I read about him and I see his skills and his ability, he certainly has Joe all over him. He's no stranger to the award, having won it twice before. This year's recipient is Bill Anderson. Congratulations, Bill. Bill, you have the screen. Congratulations. Good job.
I'm kind of going to go off a little bit of what Johnny said in his first speech. You know, being a senior, these past 4 years of playing here have been like nothing else. I couldn't be more grateful to be part of this tradition and build the friendships I have with my teammates over these past 4 years, and the memories too, you know, on the field, in the weight room, locker room, practice field. You know, it's stuff I'll remember for the rest of my life. So I'll be forever grateful for that. Also, I'd like to thank the fans over the past 4 years for making my high school career so memorable. You know, it's nothing like playing in the Silver Bowl on a Friday night. It's amazing, just the feeling of the crowd. Honestly, there's nothing that you can explain it with. But I'd also like to thank my parents, all of my family actually, for being so supportive of me all of my life. I'd like to thank my teammates for pushing me in practice in the weight room. Finally, I'd like to thank the coaching staff. More importantly, Coach Dara. You know, over the past 4 years, I've lifted every winner with Coach Dara, and I think me and him have built a pretty strong relationship. He's a tremendous guy. I mean, I couldn't be more grateful to have such a good high school coach. You know, you've really made a big impact on my life. You taught me a lot of lessons. Thank you, Coach.
Okay, once again, in a reference of time, I'm going to keep Billy here. On behalf of the Mount Carmel Area Rotary Club, presented to Bill Anderson, outstanding efforts in selection of 2018 Pennsylvania Football Coaches Select, AA First Team All-State Football Team Offensive Lineman, presented this date, January 27, 2019. Congratulations, Billy.
Thank you. Another thing I forgot, big thanks to the Dimmick family. I mean, these banquets are great every year, and for my senior year to have such an important family to the Mount Carmel tradition to be the speakers is a great thing to have here. And for the 100 years here, congratulations to the Rotary. Thank you for putting this on every year, and thank you to the Brady Fire Company. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay, so I'm here to award the Comeback Player of the Year award from Star Physical Therapy and Fitness. I'd first like to thank actually all the parents who trust Tom Swaldy, Doc, and I to take care of their kids while they're out there on the field, and thanks to the boys here for whatever crazy things we tell them to do, they listen to us. It's an honor to be on the sidelines at the Silver Bowl on the battlefield with these Warriors. They're a tough group here, and I give credit to all the kids for showing up every day. You know, they had their bumps and bruises. Literally, some of them I had taped head to toe just to keep them in one piece. But a lot of people that go to the games see them on the field, and it's great to watch them on the field, but they do not know the hours and the weeks and months it takes for some of these kids to get on the field. People forget that injuries just don't go away after the season's over. So before I bring up the winner of this award, Tanner Karicki, I'm going to give you a brief history on this extremely hard-working and determined athlete. If some of you remember from last season, Tanner got injured and had a knee injury, which landed him in a wheelchair for a little while. Being with him, I watched him go from the wheelchair to crutches, from crutches to learning how to walk again, from walking to running, which is a very long process to go through. He was determined, and within a few quick months, made great gains and actually made it to the state championship in long jump for track and field. Then he made it back for his senior year. He was having a great season, only to be sidelined by another injury, which put him out for a few more games. Again, he had to do what it had to take to return to finish his season off, and that kind of determination will take you very far in life. So congratulations, Tanner, the Tanimal Karicki. Come on up for your award.
First, I would like to thank Star for getting me back to where I am right now, and hopefully a good coming track season. And my senior year was great with all my teammates. I sure loved being with you guys, and I'll sure miss it. And I would like to thank the Rotary Club for the 100th year. It's a good thing that you guys put on. I'd like to thank the Dimmick brothers for coming and speaking, and all the cheerleaders, the band, all the fans, and most of all, my parents for all the support that they give. And my Uncle Donnie also came here. So I'd like to thank him for coming.
I'm going to give out the Tornado Pride Award winner for the offensive player. This player worked very hard throughout the spring ball and camp, as well as throughout the whole entire season. We had multiple guys at this position. We didn't know who was going to fit the right piece for the puzzle. And he never winced. And with his competitive personality, he won the position outright by outperforming everyone else. He made critical blocks throughout the year to help our running game to be so successful, caught passes when it was needed out of the backfield, and ran the wedge to perfection where no one even knew he had the ball at times, and gained at least 6 yards with 3 touchdowns as well. He was an honorable mention at fullback for our conference. Damon Daukus, can you come on up for your award?
Well, I didn't expect to get anything today. Everybody pretty much said anything. So the only thing they didn't say was about Hollywood for the Hoagies that would get after away games. And thank my family, coaches, and thanks for the award.
Okay, we also have our Tornado Pride Award for defense, and this goes to the defensive player who best exemplifies the spirit of the Red Tornadoes football program. Now, I had the privilege to work with this young man as helping Coach Dara in the secondary, and a funny story about this guy, I tried to make him a cornerback for 2 years. I kept saying, man, you make a great cornerback, you have good hip movement, you're quick, good cover skills. He said, Coach, I don't want to play corner, I want to play safety. And I kept saying, you'd make a great corner. No, Coach, I want to play safety. So I went to Coach Dara, I said, this kid doesn't want to play corner, he wants to play safety. And coach said, well, let's give him a shot and let's see if he plays himself out of that position. Unfortunately, in Coach Dara's defense, our safeties, like years ago, used to play 15 yards deep and have to protect against the pass. In Coach Dara's system, you have to play, we play them 8 yards off the line of scrimmage, and they have reads, and they have keys, and they have to be run support guys and also protect against the pass. So, fortunately for us, he proved me wrong, because I thought he was a cornerback, but he did a heck of a job playing safety. He had 23 solo tackles, 21 assists, total of 44 tackles this year, 2 interceptions. He was also honorable mention at Heartline Conference D-back, and he also returned some kickoffs and punts for us. So this year's Tornado Pride Award winner is Noah Burkowski.
I'd like to thank the Dimmick family for coming here today. All my teammates, my family, all my coaches, Star, and everybody for supporting us all season. Thank you.
I'm going to present the Lions Club Award for the Outstanding Senior Offensive Defensive Lineman. This is selected by the Lions Club. First, we're going to start with offense. So again, this goes to a senior. This guy joined our team 2 years ago. Was a kid that worked really hard this offseason, really almost got his chance at the end of last season, but ended up getting injured the week he was set to start. But had a great season, off-season in the weight room. Did a good job learning our scheme and the fundamentals involved and things like that. And this job, and this guy, as the season went on, really came into his own and did a phenomenal job for us on the offensive line. The other thing I want to mention quickly about this guy is, there's a lot of people that complain or maybe mention sometimes that, some families have moved out of our area within the last several years and go to other schools. Moved to Elysburg, things like that. Well, this guy is reversing the trend. This guy moved here from Elysburg, Zach Artman.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. I'd like to thank the Dimmick family. I'd like to thank all my coaches, my team. It's a great year. I'd like to thank my mom, most importantly. I love you. It's really it. Thank you.
Now for our member on the defensive side of the ball. This guy's been around our program for a long time. He started every single game of his career since his freshman year. I really can't say enough about this guy, not only on the field, but his work ethic and character. I'm extremely proud of the career he has, but also of the young man that he is, and can't wait to see what the future has in store for him. So on the defensive side of the ball, our outstanding senior defensive lineman, Bill Anderson.
Since this is the third time coming up here, I don't have too much else to say, but like Damon said, Hollywood doesn't get too much credit. Those Hokies are pretty good after an away game. So thank you, Hollywood, and what else? Thank you to the lunch ladies, Friday mornings after church, bringing those donuts in for breakfast. That's another good one.
This next award is the Glenn Bonesy Adams Award. This young man did everything for us this past year. He was, I think, second on the team in tackles, almost 100 tackles. He was our leading receiver, had 30 receptions, leading, I think he had 6 touchdown passes. From the pass catching part of it, over the last 2 years, he's had some of the most spectacular catches that I've ever seen. We always say, we're up in the booth and we're like, that's incomplete, and oh my gosh, he's running down the sideline with it. He kicked off, as Bill said earlier. He punted when Johnny was hurt, and did everything for us, had a great year, and one of the best things about it is he's going to be back next year. This award, the Bonesy Adams Award, is for dedication, attitude, and determination. And certainly this young man has all those qualities. And I think if one of the things, as you're sitting here listening to these young men speak, and I think on behalf of all the coaches, these are good kids. They're respectful to us, and it's a reflection on the parents that have raised them. And we look forward to Jack's leadership next year as a senior captain. Jack Chapman.
I want to thank everybody coming out today and every Friday night supporting us all the time. I want to thank the Dimmicks. I know growing up, I really looked up to you guys as an inspiration for playing football, because I wasn't really ever a fan when I was younger. I played soccer. But you guys, seeing the records, seeing the old videos, really turned my mind around. So I just want to thank you guys for that. I want to thank my parents and my family for pushing me through some difficult times. I want to thank Mr. McPhee, my coaches, the cheerleaders, the band, and just all you guys out there. Thank you.
Once again, on behalf of the Rotary Club, just want to mention that Jack's the first underclassman to be named All-State since 2013. And we're looking forward to bigger and better next year and get himself on that list of 46 first-team All-Staters next year. We'll get him that. On behalf of the Rotary Club, for your outstanding efforts in selection to 2018 Pennsylvania Football Coaches Select AA second-team All-State Football Team tight end and WNEP TV 16 Dream Team tight end, presented this date, January 27, 2019. First of many to come, Jack. Congratulations.
I kind of just said everything, so thank you again. Thank you, Rotary Club.
So this is my first time presenting an award at the Rotary Football Banquet. I've been on Coach Dara's staff for the past 4 years, but the first 3 of those were at the junior high and freshman levels. This is my first time being at the varsity level. I want to say what a pleasure it was coaching with these men for the past year. And getting to coach alongside the likes of Coach Veach and Coach Verano, who had coached me many years ago, so that was a thrill. It was also very fulfilling seeing some of these young men who I coached at the younger levels kind of coming up through the ranks and finding their niche on the varsity level and becoming varsity contributors and varsity standouts. Very fulfilling. And the icing on the cake for me, my oldest son, Michael, was a ball boy this year. So it was a nice father-son bonding experience getting to be on the sidelines with him. So I want to thank Coach Dower for the opportunity to be part of the staff this year. If you'll indulge me just one more moment, I want to personally thank the Dimmick family for being here. I can go back to my childhood, and of course I had the utmost respect for your dad, and he and I were very close, both during my playing days, and then I was fortunate enough to be close with him in the years to follow. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. My very first Mount Carmel memory was watching John Dimmick return a punt. It was probably 1981. I think I was 6 years old. But he was number 4. He took a punt back in the Silver Bowl. I forget who we were playing, but I was hooked at that point. And of course, I have countless memories of Mike Dimmick, who was one of my boyhood idols. He left a lasting impression on me and really ignited, my lifelong passion as a Mount Carmel football fan. So I really appreciate them being here, and I couldn't help but thank Mrs. Dimmick for all her years of devotion to Mount Carmel football. Jose kind of touched on this earlier, but it's always been my opinion that the very origins of famed Coal Region football tradition can be traced back to Mount Carmel in the 1950s and 60s when Mrs. Dimmick was cranking out all-star football players faster than Ford was putting on Mustangs. So she is truly the first lady of Coal Region football, so really remarkable woman. I've been asked to present the Joe Baczynski Award. For those of you who don't know, Joe was a record-setting quarterback in the 1960s. He was an all-stater, a big 33er. He went on to play football at the University of Miami. When I was a boy growing up, the big-name quarterbacks were Montana, Elway, Marino, but they're always measured against a guy named Johnny Unitas. Johnny Unitas was kind of the guy who pioneered the quarterback position in the NFL, and everyone was measured up against him. He kind of paved the way for everyone else. So at Mount Carmel, Joe Baczynski was our version of Johnny Unitas. We have a very proud tradition of quarterbacks here. Of course, Joey Dimmick. I know Doc Greco's here. I don't know if anyone else is. I apologize if you are, but some good quarterback tradition here. But really, Joe Baczynski was the guy who kind of paved the way for us. So this award is to the player who best exemplifies the characteristics of Joe Baczynski. It does not have to go to a quarterback, but I'm happy to say that this year it will. Tommy Reisinger had an outstanding season for us this year. You already heard Brad got the most improved award this year, but I would like to say that Tommy was probably in that conversation. I thought in his second year as a starter, he really made significant gains. Of course, he had a fantastic year statistically, but more than that, I thought he really improved both with his decision-making and his leadership. He's not a real rah-rah kind of guy. That's not his style, but he's earned the respect of his teammates through his hard work and his quiet confidence. So, really looking forward to seeing him back next year. It was a pleasure working with him, and this is a young athlete with a lot of potential, and the sky's the limit for him, so just looking forward to him coming back next year. But the Joe Baczynski Award goes to Tommy Reisinger.
First off, I'd like to thank the Dimmick family for coming here and speaking. It was a pleasure. Second off, I'd like to thank the coach, especially Mike Higgins, teaching me everything I know about quarterback. I'd like to thank my parents, everyone coming out and supporting us every night, and the cheerleaders and the band. Thank you.
Before I present this final award, forgive me if I just reminisce a little bit here. Gary Dimmick spoke earlier about being here 50 years ago at this banquet. I was here 49 years ago with Dr. Greco, and I believe Joe Paterno was the speaker then. And it's quite exciting that we have members of that backfield there, and the only member, unfortunately, that couldn't be here today was Henry Hynoski Sr. Just a little joke. But it was very special to me because it was Coach Dimmick's first Southern Division championship team. We had a rough go there for a couple of years, but we finally got over the hump and won that championship. It was his first one. I think it was very special. So the Black Diamond Sports Network Award, Diamond in the Rough. This, again, I had an opportunity to work with this guy in the secondary. The last 2 years working with Coach Dara, I was immediately impressed with this young man from the first day I met him. He had work ethic that was unbelievable. He never took off a rep, whether it was running pass routes or in the secondary. Just a real tough individual. He was named first team as a defensive back in the Heartline Conference, and I think he has a future at the next level. I hope he decides to go to college and give it a try. This year's winner is Avery Demko.
First off, I'd like to thank my family for letting me play the sport. Dimmick brothers for traveling here long ways. My coaches for coaching me. The supporters, band, cheerleaders, and that's it. Thank you.
The final award we have for tonight is the Dan Ficca Tornado of the Year Award. This award was started last year, and it's supposed to be modeled after the NFL's Walter Payton Man of the Year Award, which goes to the NFL player that does a lot of community service and things like that. For our award, for our Tornado of the Year Award, it really doesn't, class doesn't matter, junior, senior, whatever it may be. Really playing time or ability or anything like that doesn't go into the award. But the two things that we judge the award on are leadership within the team and leadership within the community. And we have a ton of guys on a team which I'm very happy with that do a lot in the community within the school. This guy, as an individual, is involved in a lot of different things. He's a member of Think Big. He helps out with a lot of community service like the Special Olympics. He's a member of our WKMC TV news station. I know he helps out at Holy Angels at his church, so he's definitely very involved in that. But he's a guy that I thought had a great year leadership-wise for our team, even though he doesn't always say a lot of things. He always has his game face on. This guy, I'd feel comfortable. I'd be walking around the halls in school on Friday, and I'd see him. And when I'd see him, I'd feel a lot better because he always had that crazy look in his eye. But just to tell you a little story about him, after every season when I collect equipment, I have like a little interview with the kids just to see what they thought of the season and if they met some of their goals. And I asked them, did you meet your team goals and meet your individual goals? And this guy, honestly, up until this point in my coaching career, gave me the best answer I ever heard in my life. I said, "Did you meet your individual goals?" And he said, "Yeah." And I know the guy had just under 100 tackles, and I said, "Well, what were your individual goals?" He said, "Honestly, I didn't really want to worry about stats or anything like that this year. The only thing I wanted to do was be able to look back on the season and say I played every single play as hard as I possibly could." And he said, "I felt I did that." I don't think you can have a better answer than that. Also, we just found out not too long ago that this guy played at least, probably close to 10 games this season with a torn labrum, and he's going to be getting surgery this week. So make sure you wish him luck. But this year's winner is Nick Troutman.
I'm very honored to receive this award, and I'd like to start by thanking the Rotary. It's also very special, with the tradition here, hearing some Mount Carmel legends speak. I'd also like to thank the fans that support us, everyone that comes out, my family, the coaches, the cheerleaders, trainers, everyone. I'd like to thank my teammates, especially the seniors, for making it a great year this year. Thank you.
And the last thing, this comes from someone anonymous. I really don't know who this is, so whoever does this, I'd like to thank you. But just to read this here, it says, "An anonymous supporter of the Mount Carmel area football program established a scholarship to be given to a senior player who meets the guidelines of the award. The player will be chosen to receive a 4-year annual stipend to be used to help defray the cost of textbooks at an institution of higher learning. This year's recipient of the scholarship is Jarrett Stewart."
I think everyone's been thanked already. So, thank you again.
Leave it to one of the Dimmicks to straighten us out here. We've thanked everybody in the world, right? Right? Nope. Thank you to the caterers who did an outstanding job today, and Joe loved it, so good for them. They gave us some free food too, Frank says, so thank you again, Chicatano Catering, Coltmont. Aaron Demansky, I think you have something to present? When are you going to do that?
Whenever you're ready. Okay. Okay. Bye. We're okay time-wise.
I'm just here on behalf of our booster group, and it's an honor to present our seniors. It's kind of become a new tradition here at the banquet to give them a final gift. And before I do that, I just want to say, taking a look around the room, I think you would agree with me that is a great day to be a Red Tornado. And as a fan, hearing Notre Dame and Lou Holtz at the same event was pretty cool, so go Irish. But we really quickly, we're going to honor our seniors one last time. If I could ask the coaches to help me. We have their posters. If you were at the Silver Bowl, you would have seen them hanging, and that's their final gift here at the banquet. Before I call them up, though, I just want to give out a couple quick thank yous. The first one is to all of our parents. Thank you so much for volunteering. Our booster group would be nothing without you, so thank you so much. And thank you for raising such great sons and daughters. We really do have great kids here at Mount Carmel, and that's a testament to what you do, so thank you very much. The other two quick thank yous, I'd like to thank our booster officers, and especially Coach's mom, Mrs. Diane Dara, and my wife, Kelly, who is Aunt Kelly today. She's at home with Jack. The amount of time they really put into the football program often goes unnoticed, and they're very humble in what they do, so I just want to give them a special thank you. So seniors, it was a pleasure. You're Coach Dara's first four-year group to graduate, and it's a pleasure to honor you with the final gift. So you want to come on up and get those. Tanner, lead them up.
Could the senior members of 2018 please stand up? When I look at this group of young men, the biggest thing that comes to mind is just I am extremely, extremely proud of you guys. And not just proud of you guys because if you look at the program when you came in as a freshman or sophomore and what our program was like at that point, compared to what it is now, and one of obviously our mission statement goals is to preserve and try to advance the legacy of Mount Carmel football, and you've helped the program grow tremendously since then. But honestly, what I'm more proud of you guys for is the young men you've become. I can look at all of you guys, and the first part of it is strong, self-reliant young men, and I can honestly look at every one of you and say you are that. And I wish you the best of luck in the future. I know all of you guys are going to do great and be successful, and if there's anything myself or any of the coaches can do for you guys, please let us know. But thank you for everything you've done for the program. For the underclassmen, today, really, when the bell rings here, marks the beginning of the 2019 season. 2018 is in the books. And 2018 season was a good season. However, good is the enemy of great. And here at Mount Carmel, our objective is not just to be great, but to be elite, to be champions, to be best. That's what I think of when I think of Mount Carmel. So moving forward, you underclassmen, you've got great guidance at this point in your career from the guys that are leaving this team this year. You guys have to decide, Are you going to be complacent? Are you going to say, hey, we're just going to do what we've done before and expect the same results? Or are you going to push harder? And we need you guys to do is dedicate yourself, push harder, and let's go on and achieve bigger and better things next season. So thank everyone for coming. Go Big Red.
Okay, thank you, John. Thank you, Dimmick brothers. Thank you, players.
Have a safe trip.
Everybody else have a safe trip home. But before we go, you know, I went through this last year. I had something planned to say, and then John said the same thing. And this year I had something planned to say, and he basically said the same thing, which really shocks me because we disagree on almost everything else that we discuss. You know, but whatever. But I am going to say this to the seniors. You've been terrific. You've accomplished great things. You've made everybody proud. You've continued the tradition of this football program. But I want you to remember this. You are not defined by your accomplishments. You are defined by who you are. And personally, this football team, I am more proud of than any team in a long, long time for who you are. You do community service. You help with Think Big. You help with the Special Olympics. You do volunteer work downtown. You work in the community. And another thing, when we bring young players back, I'm talking Jets and Cougars, you guys are there. You go watch them. You have no idea how important that was to those players, to see you there supporting them. You've been wonderful. I don't know how else to put this, but you are. You are those kind of people. To the underclassmen, the only thing I can say is you have a great set of role models. You need look no further than your senior class to see how to act and how to do things in the future. I know we're this close and one step away from being that elite team that Coach Dara talked about. Continue to work hard. Continue to bring that legacy. This team is now yours. Next year we'll talk about what you've accomplished and what you've done, but continue to be who you are. Before we go, I just want to remind everybody we want to do pictures. We're going to do them over there this year. Please bring about 10 chairs with you. All the award winners, please. The Dimmick brothers, Coach Dara. You guys can take some pictures. And just as an aside, Dave Clayman just didn't let me forget this. In our room today, there's probably 12 or 13 or 14 Ed Romance Chapter Hall of Fame members here. I hope you guys stick around too. We'd love to get a picture of all of the guys that are here that have been inducted into the Ed Romance chapter, and it would be a great picture for our booklet this year. But anyway, thanks again for coming. I'm going to turn it over to Father Mike for benediction, and after that we are done. Please be safe in your travels.
Thank you, Jose. Everyone is giving their own personal reflections about this past year and about this team. And we are, as clergy, in a very unique position to be able to be a part of the Mount Carmel football team and the Mount Carmel football history. And as I understand, it all began with your dad, with Jazz, with the Friday morning liturgies, masses, and it's continued to this point. I have to say to Coach Dara and to Jose, you should be proud of me today. I had no referee threatening to throw me out of this gathering. If you guys are at football games on Fridays, you know that I'm the one that the officials are always threatening to throw out of the stadium. And at times I've said, I'll spell my name for you if you want to throw me out. But it's always to try and defend these guys here, our football team, and to try and make the officials understand that when they have these helmets on and the pads on, they look like grown men, but they're high school kids. And when you see them like this, and you have a chance to relate to them in this way, you realize that all of us together have an obligation to set a good example and to help to teach them to be the best people they can be. And sometimes because our friends that wear the stripes need to be reminded of that, and I've been put in that position by my own choice. But guys, it's been an honor and it's been a pleasure, and I thank you so much for opening your lives, your locker room, your sidelines, not only to me, but to Father Andrew, to Father Fisher, Father Marty when he was here, Father Hunter. We all tremendously enjoy the opportunity to relate to you, not just as football players, but as individual young men striving to be the best you can be. Thank you. Let us pray. Eternal God, as this awards banquet comes to a close, accept our thanks for the many blessings you have bestowed upon these honorees, this organization, and upon all of us gathered here. Inspire us to live as you have taught, to follow the examples you have given us, and to respond generously to the needs of our brothers and sisters throughout our community. Help us to realize every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, coming down from you, the Father of all creation. In expressing our gratitude, we give you all glory, honor, and praise, now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.